What's up guys, Houndish here, and today, Edge of Fate launches now. So as we head into the expansion, right here, we've got a couple of updates from Bungie worth mentioning, but also we're going to take a quick look at the Season Hub, some vendor changes that have dropped, store items for the week, as well as some hidden upcoming rewards that we'll get access to, new cosmetics and a bunch of other things. So hopefully it'll offer a little bit of a catch up if you're away from the game at the moment or running through the campaign. If you find this video helpful, get subscribed, we'll have plenty of new content to cover in the next week or so, but otherwise, let's get into it. Right here, let's start by taking a look at some juicy rewards we'll get access to during Edge of Fate. These aren't actually tied directly to the expansion itself, but initially, we get a better look at the Vex-themed armor set that Bungie showed off a couple of weeks back, which will indeed be an Eververse armor set, but this time around, they've got these kind of holographic glows on them, which are pretty cool. And we know that Bungie pull out those holographic bits when they want sort of juicier endgame pieces of armor and things like that, but this time for the Eververse store, of course, there will be multiple sets. We'll cover the specific Eververse rotation here in a moment as well. Otherwise, some new exotic armor ornaments, and of course, some of these we did actually see in concept form a little while back. Of course, they'll also be visible in the collections in-game, but from left to right, starting at the top, we've got Speaker's Sight right there. I think Wormhusk Crown is in the middle, and then Verity's Brow. I'm a bit less sure at the bottom row, but possibly Icefall Mantle, maybe a Liar's Handshake in there, and Renewal Grasps. But we do know on the right-hand side at the bottom, that's a Wormgod Caress ornament, because Bungie shared that as concept art a while back as well. These are all things that'll be in the Eververse store. If we do get a breakdown of which items are going to be Bright Dust versus Silver, I'll be sure to keep you guys posted. But for some new exotic weapon ornaments, again, they'll be visible in collections, but we've got a No Land Beyond ornament, which pretty much brings it back to more of an OG look. Then there's the new Buried Bloodline ornament that we can see here as well, with sort of Neomuna colors almost, which looks pretty cool. But additionally, a Sunshot ornament. I think actually that might be one that's linked to the Bungie Foundation potentially. And then we have the Fighting Lion ornament that Bungie also teased a little while back. Looks like we'll get one from Microcosm as well. And the final few include Icebreaker with a Tex Mechanica theme on the weapon this time around, which is definitely different. And I think here we're looking at a sort of Callus or Leviathan themed Kvostov ornament as well. So a few juicy ones that we'll get access to rolling out in the Eververse store. Additionally though, spoiler alert here because we don't really know what we're looking at, but there's another leaked exotic weapon for Edge of Fate. It actually appears to match the icon that a lot of folks have spoken about for an interesting heavy strand weapon that was shown off in some developer footage a few weeks back. So we've essentially already been speculating about it, but this is what appears to be a very interesting looking new exotic rocket launcher. Obviously one will be the base skin and one is the ornament. So there we go, a few bits of cosmetic juice initially, and let us know if you like the look of any of them down below. Plus keep in mind they can be viewed in collections, if not directly in the store. Next up, before we get on to Eververse things and stuff like that, we of course now have the Seasonal Hub. I do apologize for the various pop-ups that we can see right here, but if we take a quick look at the Seasonal Hub, of course we know that there are now weekly ranks. So as we play through the game on a weekly basis, these ranks will be updated with rewards that we can obtain. Of course, some of them are going to be critical, things like Unstable Cores, in terms of getting seasonal power level a little bit later on. So the Season Hub is pretty easy to find. There's a Play Now section as well, featuring the seasonal conquests, things like Expert Conquest Devil's Lair. We also have missions like Inverted Spire right here. So some of them are kind of strikes, but a variation of different activities we've done in the past. And of course, a bit later on, we can see Portal Activities Gear +4. These are going to be some of the main ways that we get much higher tiers of rewards. Also in here, we have the Conqueror title and some triumphs we can work towards as well that have various bonuses. So worth getting acquainted with these, especially as we move into the power grind a little bit later on. And over here on the World tab, I'm not sure if it will stay grayed out like this. It's kind of washed out looking, but worth mentioning, of course, we do have the shooting range now, which we can find from the last city. So it's actually on the map, which is nice. Also, Ada 1 down here has had a bunch of updates. So Ada will give us 20 tokens that allow us to update exotic armor to the new stat system. So it's another thing worth bearing in mind, perhaps not something for day one. Also might be worth trialing a couple of sort of mid-tier exotics and upgrading them and seeing how the stats pan out before you use any of your good stuff. That would be my one recommendation, just as a word of caution. But otherwise, those are a couple of the vendor things which have, of course, changed with this update. Like I mentioned earlier on, also worth having a look in your collections if you like to see juicy ornaments and things like that. We can view a bunch, so things like the Graviton Spike ornament right here. I believe we'll be able to get this one a bit later on after we've completed the sort of initial Kepler campaign and things like that. So looking forward to it, and I'll keep you posted. But in the meantime, if you fancy perusing, of course, there is the opportunity to do that in the collections. Finally, though, since we're here, we may as well take a look, at the Eververse store. There's that ornament for Sunshot, which is a charity item, like we mentioned, for the Bungie Foundation, and the new armor pieces available in the store. So you can look at all the silver stuff if you like. But for Bright Dust things, we've got the Couch Nap available for 700 Bright Dust this week, in case you're curious. Might be something to watch right here if you're in any server queues, things like that. There's also the Nightly Noir gauntlets returning from a few seasons back. Those are up for 1200 Bright Dust. And then we have the Skiff Scribble shell on the front page for 2850 Bright Dust. Otherwise, there's the Heartbreaking Entrance Transmat effect, a shader called Primer, which literally is grey primer right there. That's a new one for this season. Still 300 Bright Dust, which is nice. Give us your thoughts. Otherwise, Whispered Sheen is also on the front page. But moving over to the main Bright Dust section, I didn't anticipate we'd see a lot of new season items right here at the minute, at least, but we have these Rising Stars Dance exotic multiplayer emote, which is 4,250 Bright Dust. Pretty cool stuff. Also, there is the Cracked Iceberg set, the Stasis armor set right here. We've got the gauntlets this week in the store as well for all three classes, which are 1,200 Bright Dust. Otherwise, there is the Fantastic Shell, which is 2,850 Bright Dust. The Star Racer 95, which is up for 2,000 Bright Dust. And then the All-Terrain Explorer. Many of these come up a few times. That's 2,500 Bright Dust. And the Essentialism ornament for Thorn as well for 1,250, which is a pretty nice one. Also, there is the Magic Trick Projection for 1,500 Bright Dust. And then some Legacy shaders, Smashing Success, Verdigris, as well as Jungle Viper, and the Aces Full of Kings shader from back in Echoes there. All of them are 300 Bright Dust. But finally, Celebrate Newness, Reef Awoken, and Box of Tricks transmat effects. I know we're skipping over a few of these. Look at that currency. None of them. Very sad about it, but nonetheless, I thought a quick look at the Eververse store might be helpful. For the moment, guys, that's what we have to round up in this video. I'm going to run the opening cinematic for Edge of Fate right here. Mild spoilers, kind of stuff we already knew about, but in a bit more detail, of course. So if you want to check it out as you wait or catch up, then here you go. Otherwise, I appreciate you tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.
What follows light and shadow is silence. That silence breaks. I am summoning you as a new age begins. I see sapient life turn to each other. They remember how to look to the stars. They remember curiosity. They remember how to thrive. But they have forgotten. They forgot we were here long before the Traveler. They forgot that they need us. But they are fated to remember. I will remind them. I'm sure you will, but not through me. Find someone else. My will is my own.